hard time in the Georgia prison system means hard choices, and sometimes harrowing changes. The chain gang is where inmates can become convicts, and where there is no escape from the question, will you do your time, or will you let your time do you? Behind bars, there are two sets of rules: the prison protocol and the convict code.
Quit looking around, boy, before you get your ass skin up.
To survive one code, you may have to break the other. For 1 year, National Geographic followed the lives of inmates and correctional officers in the state of Georgia. When a paramilitary system is up against convicted felons, who's really in charge?
To the hole where you will stay.
This is a year locked in. In a society that swings between mind-numbing monotony and hardcore violence, any time behind bars can be transforming, for better or for worse. And at Hays State Prison, inmates have a lot of time to do. Here, 1 in 5 is in for life. Almost half have over 15 years to serve, and most are here on violent charges. Hays is a disciplinary camp, a place where inmates come when other facilities can no longer manage them. And it shows.
Gonna try this at home.
You got an inmate with a life sentence without parole. What they got to lose?
In just the last month, 2 officers were beaten. During a routine count, inmates ambushed an officer and knocked him unconscious. A melee ensued, and another officer was attacked as other inmates joined in. In another incident, an inmate was hospitalized after a revenge beating went too far. Doing time in a world this extreme can change anyone. For some, that transformation starts physically, often in the form of a prison tattoo. To get one,
Are we rolling?
you have to find a good tattoo artist.
This is tattoo, chain gang tattoos, 101 here, yo.
You have to find someone like Yankee.
This is my ink and my water here. State toothpaste cap, state deodorant cap, you feel me? This is made out of nothing more than a standard big pen, a motor that comes out of a CD player, tape player, and then saran wrap wrapped around it to hold it all together.
It may seem crude, but in prison it's the best Yankee can do.
Apply some deodorant to the skin.
Deodorant helps transfer the pattern from paper to skin. Burnt baby oil is the ink, and the needles are fashioned from straightened springs.
Voila, you got a pack.
Today, Yankee's client is Sean Rockefeller.
So if y'all are ready, here we go.
They are finishing a tattoo that has taken over a month to wind its way from his hand, up his arm, to his back. In exchange for the work, Rockefeller has paid Yankee almost $80 worth of commissary items. But this tattoo feels more like a rite of passage than a simple transaction.
This is where you're marked by what you know, where you've been, what you've seen, what you've done. When people see the tattoos, they will automatically know that he's traveled a road that is traveled by a few. When somebody looks at me in the future and says, well, how? What happened? I'll be able to say.
And that whoop there would be the police coming in, so we're gonna go ahead and stop them there.
As common as prison tattoos are, getting one can be a risky operation. The homemade contraptions and needles can cause dangerous infections. The entire process is illegal in prison. Getting caught can guarantee a stint in the hole. For protection, they have hired what is called a bird dog, someone to alert them to approaching officers and possible shakedowns. But this is a false alarm, so they are given the all clear to continue.
When you hear a whoop whoop, 1250,
He lets me know that we're good to run.
we have a bird dog that won't let, a mouse crawl through the door without us knowing, what I'm saying? You got something serious going on, like, hey, National Geographic's in my room and, we're running a tattoo. Check, I got you. Make sure that, ain't nothing happening.
And that's it right there. That's a chain gang tattoo. Rockefeller, that's my buddy right there, you know what I mean? He's kind of like a little brother or something, and I can't necessarily say that I completely agree with him getting all these tattoos because he's young and he ain't got but just a couple years to do, you know what I mean? He's got his whole life ahead of him.
Rockefeller's new tattoo is the continuation of the story of his life behind bars. A mark he'll carry with him back to the street. He's been here for 1 year and is what's known as a short-timer, one of a minority of medium security prisoners in this close security environment. When he requested a prison close to his family, he landed at Hays, the last place someone who claims to come from American royalty thought he'd ever end up, especially at his age.
People turn 18 and go to college. I turned 18 and went to prison. John D. Rockefeller is my great-grandfather's second cousin, which leaves me with blood of gold and empty pockets, you know what I'm saying?
Rockefeller's path to Hayes began when he was in high school.
I'm in trouble for being in love, having a puppy love relationship, a high school relationship. She's a freshman, I'm a freshmore, is what they call it. Struggling through school just slowly year by year. I eventually turned 18. All right, she is 3 years and 1 month younger than me. That 1 month makes the difference of a misdemeanor and a felony. I'm arrested, charged with statutory rape.
Rockefeller was freed on bond, but he claims the charges brought by his girlfriend's mother pushed the young couple to the edge.
We make a pact, a suicide pact. We are not gonna be separated. Nobody is gonna separate us. We are that much in love with each other that no matter what, she is not gonna live without me, I'm not gonna live without her. We are gonna have our final act together forever.
The couple ran off to an abandoned house, planning on running away the following day.
I hear a rustle in the house, and so it freaks me out. I jump up, I run to the window, I look out, there's 2 cop cars parked out front and a third one pulling up behind it. I tell her, it's the police. So she hands me the razor blade and sticks her arm out, and I cut her. I hand her the razor blade, and now it's her turn. She gives me 2 real good whacks. It lays me open. The police are kicking down the door. I close her up in my arm, and I have her wrapped in my arms, and I wrap the blanket around her. And so we lay down in the closet, this is exactly how we're gonna go. We were the modern day Romeo and Juliet, and that is what the Gwinnett County Force called us. That was our radio call that night. We were Romeo and Juliet.
The couple survived, and Rockefeller, now in police custody, was arraigned, took a plea, and went to prison on a 9-year sentence for statutory rape. Rockefeller may have been prepared to die that night, but he was not prepared for what lay ahead of him at Hayes.
It put a shiver through me, you know what I'm saying? Just the past history of the camp. I was scared, yeah. I was scared hearing all the stories. I'm young, I'm white, and I'm pretty. It's a prime candidate.
In order to confront the threats of violence and sexual assault in prison, he would need a new image, one of toughness, even volatility.
I'm not gonna accept it. I'm not gonna let it happen. I'm not down with it, and I'm gonna fight. Doesn't matter how big you are, I'm swinging, I'm fighting unfair as possible. Don't let anything movable be nearby that I can grab a hold to first. If somebody gets up in your face in here, it's best to swing first right then and there. No argument. Don't talk about it, just swing, get to hooking.
Like most everyone who comes here, Rockefeller learned to survive. But to do so, he learned to bear more resemblance to the convicts around him and less to the love-struck high schooler he once was.
Prison's changed me a lot. It's opened my eyes. It's given me a hard heart. I don't care about things, and I don't care about people that I used to. I have no friends except who I've met in here. I have no family members except the very few who have maintained contact with me. This place has hardened me.
Nobody leaves prison the way they came in, if they're going to leave at all. Inmates can become convicts. Killers can become converts. And in some cases, even more extreme changes can happen.
On the street, I was attracted to a woman that had a natural look. But of course, the eyeliner, lip gloss, toenails, it just adds a little bit more. And that's really what pushes me. What can I find to make myself more attractive out there?
On the street, Elliot Crowell says he was a construction worker with a wife and young child, until a growing drug habit drew him to crime. He's nearing the end of a 5-year sentence.
Been in the system since 1999. Got cased up for burglarizing and set fire to somebody's house. I would most certainly say if I never came to prison, I would have never lived a feminine lifestyle. I myself is a relationship type based person. I love to hang out with people, that I find emotionally attractive as well as physically. Being the fact that you can't do that with female guards, I've decided to become the female gender of the relationship.
Elliot's transformation began with a new name.
If I'm gonna act the role of a female, have a female name. So I picked Samantha off a movie. The character Samantha was a little bit promiscuous.
Other physical transformations followed.
The shaving the body hair, that took a little while later. It was such a slow change that it wasn't really noticeable until I could actually look in the mirror and be like, wow, you know, I could see where I finally changed over to the feminine side.
Eventually, you're gonna change. If you do not fight it, you know, you're gonna involuntarily adapt to your environment and become probably what before you got locked up you thought that you'd never become.
Behind bars, change may be inevitable, but sometimes events offer a different course. 3 years into his 9-year sentence, Rockefeller gets a letter from Atlanta.
Rockefeller?
Yeah.
It brings potentially life-changing news, and not a moment too soon. You can't tell by looking at him, but Sammy Haynes was once one of the most violent and feared criminals in the state of Georgia. Every morning, he cleans up the recreation yard of the Special Management Unit, otherwise known as the Hole, where the worst of the worst to get their 1 hour of fresh air each day.
I look at them, I see some of the that I used to do, and I realized that I was messed up too. I used to be far worse than they were. I used to be far worse than they would dream of being. I'm not scared of you, I'm scared of me. I don't tell them what I do.
Haynes's crimes go back to 1969. He was only 18 years old when he led a gang on a robbery spree that led to the murder of 6 people, including a 12-year-old and the rape of a woman. Behind bars, fights and weapons charges defined his first 20 years inside. But today, 58-year-old Sammy Haynes has become something unimaginable.
Thank you.
A model inmate.
Well, you know, time brings about changes in society, people's to change. And as you mature and be around wiser people, then some of that will rub off on you. And you'll learn that, damn, I've been down for a long time, you know what I mean? So it's good to be able to change.
Hard time at Hayes has been making its own mark on Sean Rockefeller. But a letter from the parole board brings surprising news. The end may be near.
It says, after careful investigation and deliberation, the parole board has tentatively decided to release you under parole supervision. I am going home. That's what this letter represents, it. I am going home. So, it's like, you know, it's exciting. I've been dreaming about this, and here's my evidence of reality. You know, I'm ready to ride.
Rockefeller's parole is 2 weeks away, provided he stays out of trouble. The parole board will be closely monitoring Rockefeller's conduct while finalizing the details of his release. Getting out, though, brings with it a question. How much has Hayes changed the young inmate?
I told Rockefeller that I'm happy for him, you know what I'm saying? That's good. I just hope that, you know, when he gets out, he realizes, you know, what he needs to do. You know, he's got paper time now, you know, he's gonna be on probation and parole and, you know, house arrest and all this other great stuff, you know, and at the slightest little thing, he can be back in here, you know?
You know, I've already been warned about having the attitude of, like, you go out there into the free world, you're gonna feel like a big shot, you know? You're gonna feel like coming out of military training, you know, and you can whoop anybody's ass. And here, you know, somebody cuts in front of you in line, you know, pure disrespect, and you see that, you know, that's, you know, you don't let something like that fly.
When I came to Chain Gang, I didn't know how to grow dope. I didn't know how to, you know, an effective way to rob people. You know, I didn't know a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? But it's all criminal type things, really, that you learn here. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that Rockefeller's learned all the same things I have. There's one or two things you can do. You can look at what you've learned and say, okay, I'm gonna do this. Or you can look at what you've learned and say, okay, well, I need to stay away from this. And hopefully he'll go with option 2, you know?
Yankee, on the other hand, might never have the chance to return to the free world.
Well, the free world Yankee was Chris Timrick from Grand Haven, Michigan.
The story of how Chris Timrick, soldier, became Yankee, a convict, begins with blood and ends with ink.
You know, it's a broken clock on his mind, which represents, you know, life sentence in prison, and then it goes up to this judge here. He's screaming 13 and a half, which stands for 12 jurors, 1 judge, and a half-ass chance of getting off. The guy who I killed, man, was a really good guy. His whole name was Brian Anderson.
37-year-old Brian Anderson was attacked in his home sometime overnight.
Fresh off a tour in Iraq, Yankee went to visit Anderson, his old friend, in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside of Atlanta.
He and the suspect got involved in a verbal altercation over some property that the victim was storing for the suspect. This escalated into a fight.
The two fought for nearly an hour before it came to a bloody finish. When the police arrived on the scene, Anderson was dead with a dozen stab wounds, and Yankee was nowhere to be found.
A police officer stopped Christopher Timrick along Highway 78. He had a knife and bloodied arms.
What I remember doing is I stabbed him 2 times. If I was in the county jail, I found out that he had a total of 20 wounds on him, right? 12 of which were stab wounds, 6 in the front and 6 in the back. I had no idea I'd even done this, right?
The Iraq war veteran claims that he blacked out as a result of post-traumatic stress disorder, stemming from a difficult childhood. It was a defense that did not hold up in court.
They found me guilty of felony murder and malice murder, and gave me a life sentence. And so for the last 2.5 years or so, I've been in prison.
Now, Yankee is struggling to accept the idea of himself as a lifer.
You see guys walking around that are 20, 30, 40 years into the chain gang, been here their whole lives, man, and don't amount to nothing, you know what I mean? Ain't never even tried to do anything to get out of the chain gang, you know what I mean? And that's just not who I want to be.
Despite the odds stacked against him, Yankee is confident that an upcoming motion for a new trial will turn things around for him. He has spent months in the law library looking for loopholes and issues with his conviction. His motion is a long shot, but it could be the only shot he has.
I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I'm like scared to death because I know if I mess up now, there might not, you know, be another chance for me.
Sammy Haynes knows all about last chances. With 18 parole denials, Haynes knows better than anyone how each year feels when your sentence might never end.
It takes a while for reality grads to hit people. And you play mind game with yourself for so long, and then eventually the truth gonna hit you. For me, I done did 40 years, man. But in hard, I might not never get out, man. You feel what I'm saying? That's the hardest thing in doing time, knowing that this might be your life.
I do not believe that I'm going to be in prison for the rest of my life. I believe that I've got enough in me to be one of those guys that you see walking out of the courthouse, you know, on TV, on the news, after such amount of years of being in prison, he got let go. I mean, I want to have a wife and kids and, you know, a big old house and a couple of cars and a dog and wrap a white picket fence around it all someday, you know what I mean? That's what I want, you know, in a tattoo parlor.
During his 2 years inside, Chris Timrick, Iraq war veteran from Michigan, has for now given way to Yankee, the tattoo man. But some changes go way beyond a change in name, vocation, or a few tattoos. If Samantha is released according to schedule, his 10-year-old daughter will soon get a glimpse of what's become of her father behind bars. But that's a big if. An inmate can only push the prison so far before the prison pushes back.
I'd like to talk about the drive coming here. I think it has a different drive than any other institution in the state of Georgia. You leave and you drive through the city of Atlanta, you see all the nice buildings. Then the further out you go, you start to see only trees. And next thing you know, the trees turn into mountains. And then that wide road you're on turns into a single-lane road, and eventually you wind up here, coming down that little single-lane road that has a big sign at the beginning of it that says dead end.
Hayes is in Tryon, a town of 2,000 in rural northwest Georgia. It is a far cry from the big city of Atlanta, a place Deputy Warden Cedric Taylor once called home.
My dad had a barbershop growing up, so I could sit in the barbershop all day long, listen to guys tell lies, and it always kind of fascinated me coming into a prison because it's the same thing. Basically, you sit around with a bunch of guys telling lies all day long. Am I doing time? Hey, you know, by the time I retire, hey, I'll probably spend more time than the average guy who'll do a year or two sentence. I'll spend more time behind these bars than they will.
Spending this much time behind bars can be a mind-numbing routine, a monotony that inmates and staff alike must mentally contend with every day.
As the days turn to months and my turn to year, you're doing the same thing. You're hearing the same thing.
Each weekday will begin with 1 daily inspection. Following that will be 9 daily counts, 3 daily meals, 1 weekly store call, 2 weekly recreation calls, 2 weekly visitations. It's a workaday routine, save one exception.
Have you guys been in any dorms like Friday and Saturday nights? You're missing out, man.
Friday night in the C dormitory. Even on the Chain Gang, the beginning of the weekend is something to look forward to.
How we do it, man? Just freestyle session right here, man. Just on the top of our brain now. Simple example, just competition. No, they ain't up to my standards. My anatomy's harder.
Inmates don't have to lock down until 1 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. And the mood is just a little bit rowdier. This is their version of going out on the weekend. It appears to be just like any other party. But not all is what it seems. Everything is a makeshift version of what you might find on the streets. Fermented onions to make alcohol. Honey buns as poker money.
Or 60 cents.
Ice and powdered creamer for ice cream.
This is an abnormal environment. And then when you're in an abnormal environment, it makes you do abnormal things.
In the limited world of prison, everything is an improvisation, including female companionship.
Girl, look at him. He know he is fine to death.
When Elliot Crowell transformed himself into Samantha, he became part of a prison subculture called sisters, or sissies, who adopt female personas and live virtually as women behind bars.
I'm Portia, a.k.a. Bernard Richardson. And this is my sister, P.A., also known as Pineapple. The sisters here, we're pretty close. I mean, there's only a couple of us here, so I can say, yeah, our bond is pretty cool. You ain't lying. I'm gonna go back home.
Much of the sexual activity in prisons is about power and dominance, predators and prey. But these sissies say they are seeking something different, something close to a natural relationship in an unnatural environment.
We're gonna hear about this when we see it on TV. Just believe that.
Really, when you choose a man, you're really looking for them for companionship. You're looking for somebody who, you know, can help you do your time a little less stressful. Exactly. But at the same time, there are things that come along with it. You see what I'm saying? Such as finances, security, you know, just all of the, you know, et cetera.
Hey, truck driver, come here. Come hang out with me for a minute.
In the hyper-masculine world of prison, there can be no public displays of affection. Romance is typically clandestine, which means the sissies are often shunned and derided in public.
Now you gonna act that way, huh? I see there's only a very few people actually associate with myself in the dorm. We the next best thing in the Chain Gang to a female. Hey, give me a cup of coffee. You gonna treat me the way I won't be treated, or I'm gonna find somebody that's gonna treat me that way.
Potential suitors are everywhere, especially at Hayes, where so many are in for life.
When a dude got a long time, he got the rest of his life in a place, he could become gay. He could become a sissy, you know what I mean? Or he could become vice versa, start messing with sissy because he realized I'd never be with another woman.
Hookups occur outside the view of the officers. Relationships are made and broken, adding sexual tension to an otherwise sex-free world.
It's a dangerous game to play with the personalities of people you deal with inside the prison system.
Jealousy and possessiveness can often lead to violence, destabilizing the inmate community. The administration takes a firm stand.
Basically, inside of prisons, sexual relationship. I mean, I'm talking about sexual contact. It is illegal, whether that be male on male, male female, staff on inmate. It's a hard battle to win in the sense of trying to prevent it and trying to stop it.
Samantha claims his change was voluntary, but for others, adopting a feminine role can be a survival tactic, or worse, something imposed upon them.
People were turned out in the Chain Gang, and turned out meaning that they was forced maybe into becoming homosexual.
Where it's forced on someone. When you're looking at inmate on inmate rapes, Those type of issues are the things that we as a staff, we're here to prevent. Those can have an effect on the population.
I seen dudes get so involved that they kill another guy about a guy. I seen guys so involved that they turned against their buddy. I seen guys so involved that they abandoned their family, right? I never want to be attached to nothing that I can't walk away from. Never, ever, ever.
Mere days from parole, Rockefeller's focus is also on detachment, on unchaining himself from the chain gang.
It's hard for your spirit to get outside of this place. Very hard. So, walking back out into freedom, full liberation, it'll be, I can only imagine, but, you know, I will know soon.
Yankee may also know soon.
Bye, Timmy.
He is about to leave Hayes to go to court, and a chance to turn around a life sentence.
I need you to step over here and cuff up for me for just a minute.
Yankee has just returned from a 7-day trip to the Gwinnett County Courthouse. Just like all inmates returning from court, he has to wait in the special management unit until there's an available bed in general population.
I wanted to go in there and show them my stuff and this and that, you know what I mean? I went in there confident, man, but everything that I was hoping that they weren't gonna do, they did, and, you know, that sucked, man. God, did that suck.
Step over that tank. Your pants legs up.
Truth is, when I went in there, I mean, I didn't say near a word, man. But for that 2 hours, I spent probably the equivalent of like 3 or 4 days in chains and buses, and you'd be amazed, man. I'm talking about for 2 years not being on no car, van, or nothing. I for real felt sick on that bus, man. Motion sickness for real.
Yankee's request for a new trial was uniformly denied, as the court felt there were no due process violations in his original conviction. This is a crushing blow for him, and a sign that his sentence will not go away easily.
You know the whole process so well that it's, damn, man, you just wish you could do it without having to do it, because it's rough, man. Stuck back here with no cigarettes, no yard calls, no nothing. I've had enough of all this, man. I came in at 22. I ain't trying to be no 52, 57 years old when I get out, man. I ain't got no kids or nothing, you know what I'm saying? Trying to do all that still.
He may have a chance to appeal later on, but for now, he has only time in his own company while he considers a potential lifetime at Hayes. As Yankee is preparing to rejoin general population, Rockefeller is preparing to leave. He is learning that there is much more to leaving prison than simply walking out the gate. First, there's the torture of anticipation.
The excitement and anticipation causes time to move so slow. The seconds turn into like hours, and then, you know, the hours turn into days, and days just seem unbearable when it gets down to it. It sucks, you know, I'm still gonna go to work. You know, just I need something to help pass these last few days.
There's also the anxiety of wondering what kind of life awaits you outside.
What am I gonna do out there? What's it gonna be like? What's it gonna feel like? What will I be like in the free world?
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the forms. Parole board requirements for all inmates are extensive. Background checks of Rockefeller's family, an inspection of his home, faxes and letters from Atlanta with requests for additional information. It is all part of the paperwork that will take you up to the very last minute.
Hello.
Okay.
We're gonna need to see Rockefeller.
It is now 14 hours from Rockefeller's scheduled release, and one final fax has arrived at Hayes.
Rockefeller. You doing all right? Have you talked to your mother?
Yes, I am.
When you talk to her? When did you talk to your mother?
Last night.
Last night? What'd she tell you?
Tomorrow.
Rockefeller got some bad news. The parole board has some new information and they've canceled your parole. Do you know what that new information might be?
No.
No? Tomorrow you won't be getting out.
That's it?
That's all it says. Just that the parole board has new information.
fax gave no details, and at this point, neither the prison nor Rockefeller know what caused the cancellation. All they do know is Rockefeller will not be leaving Hayes in the morning.
I kept thinking that this is for real, this is for real, this is for real, this is really gonna happen. Tell you what. I thought I was done crying. I thought I'd been done with this here. I quit crying a long ass time ago. Damn. Going through all those mental preparations, breaking that down, trying to freaking just break all this way of life down in my head. To be able to walk out there and be able to start living out there. I had started all that process. Now, it all just, I feel like that door's been slammed shut. I done gave out all my freaking pajamas. I had a couple nice ass towels. Put all my homeboys' names on my CD player, my earphones. At least I don't have to worry about losing none of that. Walking out there, I hold together because all my buddies, they base a lot off of me for feelings of hope and joy.
Today, Rockefeller learned another lesson about doing time.
Getting all touchy-feely and emotional and here ain't really something we do, so, you know, if it's bad news, just, well, you know, suck it up, dude.
Without parole, Rockefeller could serve 2 more years in prison. Tonight, he'll keep to himself, and tomorrow he'll learn the truth behind his parole cancellation. It's another morning in the C dorm, right around the time Rockefeller was planning on arriving home.
If your parole has been denied, that's a serious blow to you. And when that happens, then we'll kind of back off a little bit and give them some breathing room, I guess you'd say.
When something personal of this nature happens, well, you just give them an inch, you get a mile later on out of it. That's kind of how we try to operate.
Today, Rockefeller is permitted to sleep through kitchen duty and count. Clearly, his parole cancellation is a special situation, one that earns understanding from officers and inmates alike.
You can't be trained in it, you learn it. Man, we've both done it for 18 years. We've pretty much our whole adult lives been inside this facility. A lot of these guys we grew up with for the last 18 years. But it's just a respect issue, that's all it is. All right, y'all carry on, have a good day. It's kind of a domino effect. If one person has a bad day, 12 more might be having a bad day to snap a finger.
On the other side of prison, Samantha is having a bad day of his own.
Man, that bull up there in the barber shop, man.
Samantha is getting locked down for arguing with an officer. His stints in the hole are frequent for fighting or general insubordination, something his fellow sisters disapprove of.
We try and coach Samantha. Okay, well, if you're going to be a sister, act like a sister, conduct yourself as a sister. But Samantha can't do that because Samantha on the street was living a life as a male. That masculine side is still there.
Samantha has only a few months left before his sentence expires. Only a few months to his release. Only a few months to decide the fate of Elliot Crowell.
Will you be Samantha when you leave here?
That's a hard question, to be honest. That's a hard question to answer. Am I still gonna be living this lifestyle? Of course, I'll probably live this lifestyle till I die, you know? It just all depends on how much I've flown it. Is mostly depends on how much my child's involved in my life. My daughter is everything to me. But due to the fact that I've lived this lifestyle for the past 4 or 5 years now, it's gonna be hard to change.
It is just hours since Rockefeller was supposed to walk out the gates at Hayes. He still does not know the reason behind the parole cancellation.
Have you heard anything?
His mother breaks the news. Rockefeller's crime is statutory rape, and as part of his release, he had to register as a sex offender. He cannot live near or among minors. Rockefeller has an 8-year-old sister at home.
I have to register as a sex offender for the rest of my life. Some guy, probably their name is before mine or after mine, who's probably out there and they've raped some little child. You know, my situation was completely different. I'm gonna see what I can have done about that. See if I can have it overturned. Whether I make parole or not, I won't have this against me. Today is supposed to be my day of freedom. Regardless, it still is that day. Because I know things. I feel things I haven't felt before.
It's easy to get in trouble, it's hard to get out of it.
Sammy Haynes is 40 years into his sentence, with another parole consideration approaching. It will be his 19th try, but for the first time, he will have a few years of good behavior on his side.
I grew up to be a better person inside the penitentiary. You'll really never know what's inside of you until it put to that test.
Yankee is finally out of the hole and reassigned to D House, a dorm with a rough population and few of his friends. But he is settling in again, starting over, and building a new tattoo gun.
If all my chances are gone to get relief other than parole, I'm still gonna shoot for that parole. They ain't gonna break me, man. And things might get more difficult, but I'm not gonna turn into what they want me to become and probably what society's eyes are of a convict. I'm just not gonna ever give anybody that satisfaction.
If you're not wise and strong, the chain ain't doing you. You can lift all the weight in the world, that ain't the kind of strength I'm talking about, right? And you got to become that way to do time. If you don't, you know, you ain't gonna make it, you know what I mean, point blank sight.
I don't worry about changing. This is what helps me recognize being alive. But as far as changing to where I'm worried for worse, no, not at all.